Hey, so today is another interview. I plan to make this a more predominant part of the channel. If you'd like to subscribe, I have more interviews upcoming, at least tentatively. That being said, I will be interviewing Jimmy Galloway. His YouTube channel is linked below if you'd like to check it out. And stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to be showing a Partscaster I recently acquired and what I plan to do with it. Thanks. So this is Dusting My Guitars YouTube channel, and today I'm doing an interview with Jimmy Galloway. How's it going, man?
Hey, how are you?
Good. You want to give a brief description of your channel?
So my channel is geared towards sharing my insights that I've developed over the years, primarily being a kind of like a sound design guy, plus teaching guitar lessons of various styles, primarily focusing on fingerstyle guitar, but beyond the Chet Atkins idea of fingerstyle, more like modern players, paying homage to the old guard, but still trying to move forward. Yeah.
Nice. So, how did that fingerstyle develop? Did you start with that, or did you start with a pick and then it came later on?
So one of the most incredible musicians I know, I was able to take lessons from in Gastonia, North Carolina, Jim Birch. He's a legend in that area, and he actually developed the Herco thumb pick. I didn't learn this until many years later, but so Jim was a finger pick guy, and he wouldn't teach me that style. He made me learn with a flat pick, like most everybody else does, because he didn't want me to be stunted, and he wanted me to learn, that. So I started that way, but I quickly, honestly, it just didn't ring true for me, and I got into the finger style later once I got off to college. And I've reconnected with him over the years. I actually talked to him on the phone today. We're still good friends, and he's 30 years older than I am, but he's basically still my mentor. So yeah, I basically got into it later because I saw Michael Hedges, and I saw Brent Mason, and it just seemed like there was so many more possibilities using your fingers, and Lindsey Buckingham, of course, and Martin Knopfler. So I just really gravitated towards that, and I couldn't even hold a flat pick now, probably. But it just it stuck, and I've just been a student ever since.
Yeah, cool. It's good to have relationships with old mentors like that you can still go back to them and ask them questions if you have something along the way.
Very much so. Yep.
So, what initially kicked off your interest in guitar?
I love the sound of it, and my parents were both into music, and they loved music so much, but neither one of them just had that, and they kept trying to find things for me. And I love taking road trips with them, and they would point out this song or that song, and that was really hip for me to just get into. And eventually I got a guitar, and then we found out about Jim, and he had a waiting list. And I'll never forget this. I was 12 years old. I just turned 12, and I walked in 1986, and I could barely make a few chords. And I sit down, and he starts playing Sanitarium by Metallica. This finger picking monster that can do like Lenny Bro and Chet Atkins.
Wow.
He knows what the kids want to hear. So he was teaching me Sanitarium. And I was like, this guy's rad. This guy's so awesome, And so we had a truce. It was like, all right, I will show you what you want to learn one week, but the next week you have to learn what I want you to learn. So we would flip back and forth. So I would be bringing in like Yngwie Malmsteen, with the flat pick, and and then the next week I'm learning like Django. It was wild.
That seems like it would be beneficial to go back and forth like that, but consistently rather than just sporadically doing it.
Totally. And I will say that he definitely pushed me to be versatile,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted me to be able to make music by myself without having to depend on other people. And as I progressed in life, I decided, and especially going the fingerstyle route with the acoustic, that really kind of put me down the road of. I really got into Richard Thompson, and man, not enough people know about Richard Thompson. He's incredible.
Okay.
So that really put me down the path of being the singer songwriter solo guitar guy that could play for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and try and change it up. And you got to have a pretty deep trick bag to pull out of. You
Yeah.
can't be
Right.
you can't be a strummy strummerton for 2 hours. People
Right.
get tired of hearing
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
So, when listening to bands and discovering new music, how important is the tone of the instruments to you, or are you able to put it aside and just listen to it musically?
Tone of the instruments. It depends. I guess it depends on the context.
Hmm.
I saw a really great interview just this week with Rick Beato, and he
Hmm.
was talking with Butch Vig, and they were
Okay.
talking about and then also he approached this subject with a couple other interviews, but there's really no bad sounds. There just might be bad applications.
Right.
I'm into some pretty out there stuff. I went to hippie college, so I got into the thing that just flipped a switch for me was learning about tone rows, Arnold Schoenberg and Webern,
Hmm.
so we were actually analyzing tone rows. I was analyzing Vozak. I was analyzing Pierre Lunaire. I was finding the tone rows in the score. I was finding prime and retrograde inversion, and I could build a tone row and I could draw it all out. And I couldn't read music when I got to college. So
Hmm.
for me to not be able to read a lick, and then I'm analyzing, uh, Stravinsky, and
Yeah.
it was pretty wild. So I really like a lot of out there stuff, avant-garde stuff, and uh, it, it really depends. My biggest thing is I would rather hear a bad tone per se, or something that takes a chance instead of something that sounds derivative or kind of
Yeah.
just
Sure.
phoning it in.
Yeah. Absolutely. I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. In doing research for this video, I noticed you had several videos up with Jazz Guitar Today. How did that relationship develop?
So Bob Bakert is part of that organization, and Bob asked me to do some demos for a Godan nylon string,
Yeah.
and I did, and I know Bob from Atlanta. He's a wonderful player, and that was a great publication to do that with, and he's reached out to a couple other local Atlanta guys. Man, there's so much talent down there. I lived there for about 20 years, and there's just some absolute monsters down there. And Bob's a great player as well.
Cool. Um, when you're not feeling particularly inspired and you feel like you're in a rut, what's either an album or maybe a song that you always go back to?
Hmm. Well, it depends, and I don't want to sound smarter than I am, but honestly, I've really been on a big classical kick.
Okay.
I don't listen to pop music. I try and especially I can get burnt out listening to guitar. You
Hmm.
know, so I try and get into classical stuff because it's nothing but melody and
Right.
composition.
Right.
You don't have production tricks. Nothing wrong with that, but it's good to kind of go back into that stuff. Um, I also it also depends. Like for me, there might be singer songwriter stuff I'm into, different genres. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have. I like to have a lot of different music to listen to when I'm in a rut, but I can see how classical would inspire you.
Yeah, I mean, and then I like going off the wall, like Oz Noy. I
Yeah.
really enjoy. Man, he's dangerous. I love that guy. I love listening to something that we're like, I have no idea what's about to happen here. And Nels Klein, Wilco, same thing. I tell you, an amazing show. I wish they would do it again. That Stained Radiance thing that he and Norton Wisdom did.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. So,
I'm not. No.
yeah, Norton Wisdom is like a visual artist. He's a painter.
Okay.
And so they set up in this little intimate room in Atlanta. Eddie's attic. It's pretty famous for like singer-songwriter stuff. About 120 people. And Norton's there painting and Nels is improvising live. And they're both going back and forth with each other, music and painting. And so Nels will do this crazy soundscape thing and Norton will destroy the painting and turn it into something else. And oh man, it's just, yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
it's really hip, man. Learning about John Cage and like the happenstance, the chance music, the Merce Cunningham stuff, that was really hip for me too. Because just the whole concept of that 3 minutes, 33 seconds, where the guy just comes in and sits at the piano and you hear the air conditioner and that's the only thing in the music,
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
So I noticed on your channel that you've been posting a lot recently, but before that, there was a time where you weren't posting for years. So what made you decide to come back to YouTube?
So I've got 4 kids, and I actually something happened where I got locked out of that account with YouTube.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and I've finally lobbied and just got it unlocked. So yeah, so I was like, yeah, I might as well start posting again. It's
Gotcha.
it's been great for me. I've ever since the past 3 years, everybody's kind of tried something else different.
Right. Yeah.
And for me, I've got a setup here where I would rather just, I'm at the age and the stage in my life where I'd rather create in a space. When I was a younger guy and had heavy stereo rigs and an 80-pound pedal board and wanted to take 5 guitars out of the house and go play shows, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm in a different spot now. I'd rather set up a creative space, come on, flip on a couple lights, hook up something and go.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I started my channel for a similar reason. I just needed an excuse to practice when I'm working full time and doing my other stuff. So it's
accountability partners.
It's accountability. Absolutely. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a guitar or an instrument, maybe another instrument that you own, that every time you pick it up, it inspires you to play something? Like a special instrument compared to the rest of them.
Yeah. So I'm a guitar player. I love the guitar. I got a harp guitar a couple years ago, and that is very inspiring. And every time you sit down with it, you're not sure what's going to fall out of it. And also, I recently converted a telly to a baritone, standard length telly. And that's a lot of fun. And I also have a bass 6, and
nice.
Playing the bass 6 finger style instead of doing like the Robert Smith treatment on it, which is totally cool as well. But playing it finger style brings out a different thing in that instrument. It's like playing a piano. It's really really hip, and especially like I've done solo shows with the bass 6, and there's nothing like it. And I also just converted. I did it was heresy. I converted my Rickenbacker 12 into a baritone 8-string.
Nice.
so it's B to B. I'm only using 6 of the tuners for that, B to B, and then the 2 inside strings, the 3 and the 4, I have the octave pairs on that.
Nice.
And then you split that out with Rico sound, and it's really hip. And I've got a board. I call it my science project. So that's like my B rig, and that's got like a rainbow machine and a plus pedal, and some of the freak out stuff.
Gotcha.
So, Yeah,
That actually leads
that's
well. That actually leads to one of my next question, because my next question is: are you a guy that likes to plug directly into an amp or an amp sim, or do you like to use effects?
So I'll tell you a funny story. There's a guy that used to rep Line 6, and he wound up, he's with Universal Audio now, and Jason Salzman, Spanky Salzman, and he's an Atlanta guy. And he met me. I lived in Nashville for 5 years, and he met me at Guitar Heaven, which is no longer around. They were a great store over there on Bell Road. And he saw me play, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm with this company, Line 6." This was like early 98. And he's like, "Hey, man, I would love to talk with you. I think you'd really like using our DL4." I was like, "Man, I don't like any of that digital stuff." That was so dumb. That was so dumb of me. Because I was trying to go analog, and I had like all these I had like a 65 Bassman into a 212, and I had another 410 Bassman, and then I had a Marshall. I went through amps, and that was very short sighted to me. Now, and I'm telling you this I told you that to tell you this. Now, I haven't played a gig through an amp since 2017. I'm all Line 6 Helix.
Nice.
And then my B rig has the HX Stomp with some of my favorite analog pedals. They've really made a really incredible, the innovations they've done. I'm floored. It's honestly the most inspiring piece of gear I've bought probably ever in my life is the Line 6 Helix. I can
Really?
I can whip up tones that I hear in my head like that, and I can just get right to making music. It's super flexible. It makes so much sense with the UI. It's just logical to me. There's Android people and Apple people. The Helix just makes sense to me, and I'm super floored every time I use it. I mean, there's something to be said to you can take an Uber to a gig with a gig bag, and then the Helix in like a shoulder bag.
Yeah.
You're doing festivals, and you don't have to worry about load in and it's that. They just drop you right at the gate, and you just go up there and throw two XLRs in, and you're ready to go, man.
You don't need a buddy to help you carry a 4x12.
Oh, those days are over for me,
Yeah.
especially. Yeah, those days are over. Yeah.
Okay. If you had to pick, who would you say is either your favorite guitarist or the guitarist that inspires you the most?
Ooh, man, there's a long
No,
list.
it's a loaded question.
Yeah, man. I mean, as far as pushing the instrument, I mean, man, there's so many good ones. As far as pushing the instrument to where you're not sure if you're ever going to hear the same thing twice, Oz is pretty far out there, man. I really like that guy. And then there's Tommy Emmanuel. He actually did a clinic for me. I have a mutual friend with him, and I called in a favor, and Tommy came into Atlanta Institute of Music and did a clinic for the school, and I got to host him and play with him and meet him. And man, they say don't meet your heroes, but I tell you what an absolute gem. What an absolute gem that guy is. He's giddy like a teenager. He's still excited about playing and learning, and just an amazing dude. There's so many. I mean, on a side note, Houses of the Holy turned 50 years old today, and I don't know if I'd be playing guitar if it wasn't for Jimmy Page. So that's I mean, there's so many good ones, man. Everybody's got something to offer.
Yeah, you can definitely tell with Tommy Emmanuel though in his playing how excited he is to be there. It doesn't seem like he ever is just like, I don't want to do this today. He's always excited.
It's contagious too. You get around him, and you just laugh the whole time because it's so sick,
Yeah. I was actually just talking to a guitarist buddy of mine about Osnoy, and what you were saying about him never playing the same thing twice was kind of what we said. We're like, half of his songs we really like, and the other half we're like, what the hell are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's all kinds of cool stuff out there, man. I tell you, there's a friend of mine who's on the fringe. Dan Phelps. He's basically a
Okay.
sound designer, and he's affiliated with Full Sail Academy. He basically scores movies and records
Okay. Cool.
people. And man, Dan's one of my favorite players. He's out there and he's doing just some awesome stuff. He's out off the coast of Washington on one of those islands out there, and just a monster player. He's got some. He's big into like Dave Torn and
Okay.
a lot of the sound designer guys. He's really smart about just everything about his approach is super thought out and methodical. Really great player.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I have one more question if you still have time. You still
Sure.
good?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a possibly my most loaded question. I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase it. Just by your gut reaction, your first reaction, who has the best guitar tone?
Martin Knopfler.
Okay. Yeah, Money for
Boom.
Nothing or
Oh no.
Clean Tone?
Probably the best recorded guitar tone of all time is back to Tupelo off the Shangri-La record. I mean, it's all in his hands. It's really it's not really relevant what he's playing or what he's playing through.
Mm-hmm.
But man, he's just got so many great tones. Good Lord. But that tune in particular, I could name about 30 songs off the top of my head that are just ridiculous. But that tone in particular is that entire record is basically a smorgasbord. Chuck Ainley produced it with him, and I think he did most of the engineering as well. Chuck's got some of the most incredible records he's recorded in the past 30 years. But Shangri-La, that's one of the most quintessential guitar tone records. Everything on that is money. Boom Like That, Song for Sonny Liston, Donegan's Gone. The whole record is a masterpiece. But back to Tupelo, it sounds like God himself playing the guitar. It's magic, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, Martin Knopfler was actually, I'm not that great with picking with my fingers, but he was the first guy that made me actually try it. I think it was the first finger picker I've seen, which kind of sounds odd, but I think he was. So yeah, anyway, I appreciate your time, man. I won't take up any more of it. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks for the interview. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Later. Hey, so just real quick, I wanted to show you my current project, which is this. This was a complete guitar when I got it. It had this neck on it, which, by the way, check out the beautiful flame on that neck. It's not showing up so well, but trust me, it's there. I'll see if I can overlay some footage of it that's better. But it came as a complete guitar. It had EMG pickups in it, which they're not bad, but they're not something that I would use. And originally what I was going to do was put the new Fishman Scott LePage pickups in it, make it a humbucker Stratocaster. However, as you can see, it's not routed for a humbucker in the neck position. And I don't really want to route it any further. I'm not good with that sort of thing. So that's off the table. And I was also going to strip the finish off and make it natural, but that may be off the table. I'm still debating whether or not to do that. It's not a nitro finish, it's poly, so it's going to take a lot of work. So I'm still debating whether to do that or not. But what I'm pretty sure I'm going to do is make it an HSS guitar. And like I said originally, I was going to put the Scott LePage pickups in it. But then I saw that it wasn't routed for humbucker in the neck, so I didn't want to route it further, so that was out. So I started looking into it, and then I remembered the new Fender Michael Landau Strat. And I really liked the way that sounded in the demo with the Fender Wide Range Humbucker. So that's what I'm planning on doing right now. Fender Wide Range Humbucker and then 2 singles. Lately, I've been a fan of bare knuckle pickups. So I'm thinking of putting in their, oh man, what's it called? Their 59 Stratocaster pickup set. I think it's called 59 slab board, I believe. Anyway, I'll put a picture of them on the screen. That's what I'm planning on putting in the neck and middle position. I'm not 100% sure on any of this yet, but I wanted to introduce this as a project because it's going to be a multiple part video on my channel. I will be showing you as I progress along what is being done at the end of different videos. So with my next one, I might have an update on the progress of the Strat, or I may not, just depending on how far I got with it. So thank you for watching. Again, I will be doing more interviews on this channel, so please subscribe if you're interested in that or just interested in guitar gear. Please comment if you have any questions. I'm really responsive to comments, and later.